welcome back to Publishing Power Play. I'm Jenna Short, and I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about why it's important to get publishing, how to get published, where to look for the right places, what does that mean for me and my brand, how do I get better brand visibility or amplify my brand. And that's what I'm really good at. It's what I've been doing for over a decade. And what I want to teach you are some of the tricks about getting published. So one of the things we want to talk about, especially on this episode, where we're going to be talking all about behind the publishing curtain, understanding the editorial and distribution. Distribution is super important. So for instance, if I'm a mindset coach and I'm working with people in trauma, I'm definitely not going to do someone who's done or publish myself in a magazine or a book or a podcast that talks all about baking, right? There's really very little connection there. So tip number one, first, craft your message with purpose. It's so important for you. Again, I say this in every single video because it's that important. So important for you to craft purpose in your message. So go back to video one or podcast series one. You need to learn what your clients' needs are. When I would first start coaching clients, one of the things I asked was, who's your client? Let's just say they're a nutritionist. Everyone's my client. Everyone needs help with nutrition, especially here in the US, right? No, not right. Everyone probably isn't your client. Are you working with infants? Do you work with diabetics? Like, you very specifically have to find your niche. The problem is people believe that when they find a niche, it's shrunk their pool down in size. So a nutritionist may have the whole world that needs to learn about nutrition. But if I narrow down to pregnant women or diabetes or complete weight loss or very specific teaching all about Mediterranean nutrition, I've lost most everybody. That's not true. You will start converting way higher than you do when you throw the spaghetti against the wall, which we say all the time. So instead, I want you to niche down. Who are the exact people that you are working for? When you do that, you're going to craft your message, and your message must have purpose, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's not about you. It's not necessarily your story. It's what's in it for them. So we're going to be really focused on crafting the correct messages. When you craft the correct message, you will open the floodgates. I promise you, especially as you start using it over and over and you get more comfortable with it and you get more familiar with it and you recognize those clients as they're passing by or popping into your DMs or leaving messages on your podcast. I want you to really sit down and think about who that is. Now, we talked before in podcast episode 1 and 2, a little bit about how to figure out who that is, how to niche it down, how to chunk down, and really dive into who that is. Once you get that, we want to make sure we're crafting a message with purpose. Why? When I pitch to a magazine like Forbes, like Thrive, like Goop, and I want to run an article with them, or I want to run a blog on a big blog site, or I even want to be a guest on a podcast or be a key speaker on a webinar or on stage, you have to narrow down your niche and craft a message with purpose. They don't just want somebody on stage or on their podcast rambling about themselves. They want you to speak to their audience. They want you to draw people in with your message. So crafting that message and finding the correct publication to expose that is extremely important. One of the things that you're going to do, and this is a big secret, especially on magazines that charge or publications that charge of any kind, they're going to tell you their distribution. They're going to tell you, we're digital, we're published in hard copy. We have this platform, we have that platform. You need to be a smart consumer. Where you put your stuff matters. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and energy. You need to ask them some key questions. Are you digital? What is your demographics? Because what if they're all in Korea, but you mostly are in the US or Canada or Europe? Ask them the demographics, where they're being distributed, where the biggest distribution is. If they're publication, where are we being published? Where does that go? What does that mean for me? Who's receiving that? How do I know? Am I able to put product in the magazine? Product doesn't necessarily mean something you hold in your hand. Product to be your services as well. Am I able to pitch my services at the end of my article? If not, it's not really going to help you much. It's going to give you brand identity and awareness to draw from later. But as far as calling people in, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. We're going to go over all the difference between being able to advertise in your story or just being able to write an educational story and how those both benefit you. There is a huge difference, and we're going to go over that later. But be sure you're able to put that last paragraph as a call to action, drawing them in. Message with purpose, call them home. So the next thing I want to know is know your audience and platforms. We've talked about this a lot. I have clients I've worked with, and I feel like I'm failing them, that I go to their Instagram, their LinkedIn, their any TikTok, YouTube, and I'm very confused still about what they do. And I've been working with them. If I'm confused, imagine what the typical person looking for them feels. They're probably confused. Just stay focused on who you are and what you do. Don't get caught up in the new trend, the new fad. That will kill your brand and business very quickly. One of the things I want to touch on here, and again, we have this coming up in an upcoming episode, is authenticity. Look, it is very, very hard to build trust and rapport on social media. On this platform, you can do a million good things before a person recognizes you. But I promise you, you mess up one time, it will spread like wildfire, and you will be digging yourself out from under that for years. It's very hard to build trust and rapport. I cannot say that enough. Show up authentic. If you've had a messy day, say, I've had a messy day. Like, this is my third recording for this podcast, and I've done 5 others. I'm losing my voice. I'm not as sharp as I should be, but I know I need to get it done, and it's important for me to stay on task, right? So I still show up. I show up with the energy that I have. I'm really honest about it, and just be yourself. If you're having a horrible day, don't say everything's great. Say something like, hey, you know what? It's a day of lessons. Let me tell you, I've got them piled high, things I'm learning today. Because everyone does. You want to be relatable. Perfect people are not relatable. They're just not. We know that they can't be perfect because we know there's no such thing. So don't show up and have people perceive you as that. If you are a very specific type of coach, leader, entrepreneur, stick to that. That doesn't mean once you build that platform and you have a strong following and a really strong trust rapport built, that you can't move into another direction. Look, I went from coaching to podcasting to public stages to a magazine. Like I was all over the place, but not. It all went in alignment. The brand will open up another door for you, and you'll walk through it with all the goodness that you've built in the back. There's nothing separating it. If you are doing MLMs, let me tell you, I love MLMs. Love them. You want to get published. You want to educate on your product. Don't make false claims. The minute you do, the minute you say anything that is not even remotely believable or true, you have lost credibility, and it will take forever to build it back. I'm going to tell you another thing. I have not a filter on, but I have a background thing. I see people that don't even look like themselves. And here's the thing. They're either selling health and wellness, because that's a business I'm in. They're selling cosmetics, or selling nutrition, and they put a filter on their face. What's the first thing I'm going to think of? Why are they hiding? What's wrong? So be sure that you are really real with them. I don't mind you touching up your photos somewhat. Sure, my photos are touched up, but don't change who you are and your personality, right? And if you're messy that day, be messy that day. If you have freckles, have freckles. Like if you have, I don't know, one eye lower than the other, you're perfect exactly the way you are. But when you change that, it's like nothing might be real behind. If one thing's not real, what else isn't real? And it opens the door of that thought process. So being authentic when you're finding your audience, I got the hiccup. Sorry. Your audience, when you're finding your audience and you're finding the correct platform, be authentically you. Show up with all the messy, with all the good. Some of the people I have connected with the most that have come on my podcast had shared a moment in their life, a story of hope that was hurtful, painful, left them with despair, sometimes shameful, embarrassing, all the things. And yet they opened up about it. And I immediately felt connected to them. Like immediately, I wanted to say, it's okay. We all mess up. It's okay. But look at you now. Like I want to be their champion. Be real. And you will find that your clients believe in you. That opens the door to trust. When you have opened that door to trust and report, so much easier to convert when you're converting into your business. Be authentic, and all you're going to focus on is your clients' needs. So the next thing I want to talk about is collaborating and building relationships. So important. We talked a little bit about this in an earlier podcast episode, but I'm going to spend a little time talking about it here. I'm going to have you guys, whoever has a LinkedIn account, I'm going to have you try this. If you have a LinkedIn account, I want you to go on LinkedIn and I want you to pick 5 people you admire who are in the same line of business as you. So for instance, for me, Ariana Huffington, she's a publisher. She's a woman and entrepreneur. She is crushing it and I admire her. And Gabrielle Bernstein, she's a spiritual person. She's also been published in many books. She's done very well at it and has built a platform of it. I admire her. Mel Robbins, admire her. She's taught me so much. Juliana Herska taught me so many things. I could just go on, the list is on, but all I want you to do is pick 5. Then I want you to try this challenge for me. I want you to post once a week on LinkedIn. I want one of those heartfelt stories about you and your brand, what you do, right? Your client's pain point connected to an emotional feeling that they feel when they're at that space, the tools and tricks that you're going to give them or teach them that they need to move forward. And then you're going to do what that mirror image of those feelings are, what it must feel like, but engage your audience. Bring them into the story, make them feel that process. And I want you to post it saying, this is something I've learned with one of my past clients, the power of ... and write that story, writing it to your audience with that same problem and what that must feel like. She was feeling this and this, and my heart went out to her. I couldn't believe it. And with the simple tools and strategies I gave her, she was able to use those over a small period of time and notice these changes, but not just the changes, what it felt like. She was energized again. She was booking clients and gave her, like, come on, when you book your first client, all the energy you get, like nothing's going to stop you. And then a couple of weeks go by and you don't book anymore and you're like, what's happening? And all that dread comes in. Get them to feel that emotion moving through. And then once you do that, this is a most important part. Click the publish button. Be the very first person to comment. And I want you to go in and comment. And this is where those 5 people are going to come into play. I want you to go in and comment. And I want you to say, some of my people who inspired me to move forward, to tap into this, to understand that, I've learned some really incredible tools and strategies to get me to be in this incredible space as your educator and teacher and coach and then I want you to tag them. Give them that shout out, tag them. I usually pick about 20. Some of them are my clients because they've inspired me. Some of them are people who have paved the way for women like me. And then afterwards, the last little paragraph is what you're going to say is you're going to drive traffic to them. You're going to say, look, if you want to be as inspired as I am, go over. They're putting stuff up all the time that can give you tools and strategies. When you tag them, here's what happens. They see you. You're not asking for anything. You're giving them a shout out to your following. I have 10,000 followers, which isn't that big a deal on LinkedIn. But they're like, she just shared me to 10,000 people. Like she just said she was inspired by me and learned from me. So I want you to do that. And I want you to do it. This is the hard part for you. I want you to do it for 60 days. In the meantime, just those 5 people, once a week, I want you to click on their profile, go to all their posts, and make sure you're actively engaging in it. I want you to like it. I want you to leave some sort of heartfelt comment. And then if you can, once in a blue moon, share it. If it's in alignment with you, share it with a really beautiful comment at the top. Like, hey, I just wanted to share this. I told you before that I have this really great person that inspired me, and now I wanted to share their post. I promise you, those people reached out to me first. I did that for 60 days. Hey, I see you have a magazine. Tell me about it. I want to know more. They're writing for me now. They're engaging. Collaboration is fabulous when you do it the right way. Some people see collaboration as what's in it for me. Like, I want to collaborate with this person. What do I get? I want to get the most out of it. She has a large following. I'm going to get in front of all these people, but you don't want to do any work for them. So what I want you to do is just, when you think of collaboration, I want you to think of what's in it for them. And I want you to start connecting, start pre-scaling where you're going with this collaboration. Pick those 5 leaders, make them be out of your ballpark. If it's a writer, a Nobel Prize person, I'm telling you, you'll be surprised the people you get written back from, or slide into your DMs, or they now want a connection with you because you just gave them a huge compliment. You've shared them, you've shared their posts, you've commented, and you've been doing this more than once. So I'm going to ask you the opposite side of that. How many of you are on LinkedIn? How many of you wake up every morning to about 50 to 100 DMs with people selling you something? They've never given you a shout out. They've never liked anything you posted. They don't even really know what you do. It's just a mass thing going. Do you think you're interested? How many of you just delete? But what if it was somebody you recognized? Oh, that's that person who's been posting on our tags. So it works out magical. They listen then. They're not going to push you away. They're not going to ignore you. Like, she's been doing so much. What can we do for this person, this brand? How can we help amplify them? You could do that on any platform. I told you at the very beginning of the podcasting series that LinkedIn and Instagram are my favorites. That's where I mostly do it. But every once in a while, I will grab some tags and do it on Facebook, or it's kind of hard to do on YouTube. You can definitely tell them to go follow their YouTube channel. Having said that, it's not going to hurt you to give. It's not going to hurt you to give a shout out to somebody in the same field, doing the same thing, giving them a compliment. What it's going to do is encourage them to put you in front of their people as well. Share, hey, this is what so-and-so said about me. Another coach is honoring me and saying this incredible thing. Open yourself up to your collaboration and building relationships. It's first building relationships, then collaborating. First building relationships, and then collaborating. The publishing world thrives off relationships. So I want you to learn how to build those really strong relationships. Here's another thing that's really hard. After doing it for 10 years, I've built so many incredible relationships. Some of the people that I was their coach, we're now friends. Some of the people that I've done things for, we're connected all the time. It's really hard to stay on top of it all when you get that many, but it's also very important to nurture those relationships. So keep a hot 25 or a hot 50 list that, you know, once a week, I've got to pull this up, or I got to have someone on my team pull my hot 50 and make sure that I'm engaging with them. If it's a DM them. Hey, just thinking of you. How are you doing? How can I support you? By the way, I learned this from Linda Souza. You can go check her out on her podcast is Self-Love and Sweat. One of the things, she's an incredible NLP practitioner. She makes me look pretty bad sometimes. She's inspired me in so many ways. She was someone that I was coaching, and now she's doing so many beautiful things. But she taught me a phrase that I always love to give her credit for. One of the phrases I use when a client is going through something, make them ask for it. Don't just jump in there trying to fix everything, right? Sit back and see what's really needed and have them ask for it. So when someone's struggling with something, I listen to the struggle, and then I ask them, how can I support you? How I want to support you in this. How can I support you in this? And find out what they need for support. Sometimes it's a lot less than you would have jumped in doing and they didn't even need. Sometimes it's like, hey, one of my clients recently that I'm no longer coaching said, I'm struggling with something. Would you mind being my touch point? Could I have a 15-minute weekly call just for accountability? Yes, of course. So what is it that they need to support them? She's one of the people I call friends. Am I going to leave my calendar open for 15 minutes for her? Absolutely. So what you want to do is make sure you're setting up, building these relationships. It is key to getting your message out on other platforms, publishing on other platforms. If you build a relationship with a person who books people on stages, so I picked a person who I know books incredible stages directly to my audience. She works in health and wellness. Her stages are incredible. I want to be on her stage one day. You don't think I'm going to take the time in collaborating with her by building that strong relationship and bond first, reaching out, saying things, sending her little, hey, did you see this? I noticed that. I want to share your post here. You don't think that when she's booking stages, I'm not going to come to the forefront of her brain? Absolutely. So what I want you to do is start paying attention to that. I am going to let you go because I've talked too much for this episode. My name is Jana Short. I'm the editor-in-chief of Best Holistic Life magazine. I am so excited to bring you guys publishing power plays to teach you tricks and tips on how to get published and be exposed with a beautiful brand message that's a heartbeat and creates emotion in your potential clients so that you are seen, that people start building trust and rapport for you. And I am going to give you the strategies and structure it for you so that you can do this yourself. Thank you guys very much, and I'll see you on the next episode.